Shalom, Chavarim. Well, let me just tell you, I originally thought that this message was going to be for and about Hanukkah, the traditional festival that just passed. The word Hanukkah means dedication, and so this traditional celebration is also referred to as the Festival of Dedication. So I planned to do a study on that word in the Otiot roots, and as he was preparing me for the study, he hadn't yet compelled me to make the video, and when it was the last day of Hanukkah, I thought, Abba, it's the last day of Hanukkah. How come you haven't compelled me to do this video yet? And he said, Tiffany, there isn't a last day for dedication. So, this message is about how dedication to Yahweh doesn't ever end. It is always to be on our minds as a remembrance. And as usual, this message he has prepared has turned out to be bigger than I originally thought. And he has also combined it with this word we recently studied with Alan, zakar. First, I'm going to talk about this word, Chanukka, dedication. This is the word for Hanukkah. Chet, nun, wa, kaf, he. And brought down to the child root, it is just chet, nun, kaf. This child root means dedication as well, with the action being to dedicate. This word also talks about being trained or to train. I would like to mention right here that the first time we actually see this word in Scripture is in a name, and that is who most call Enoch. His name was actually Chanukka, and Chanukka truly was dedicated to Yahweh. He was trained by Yahweh, by His living word. The name Chanukka is spelled like Chanukka, but without the hey at the end. So just chet, nun, wa, kaf. The scriptures that are in our canon today, the Bible, don't say a whole lot about this man, but the book of Yovelim, Jubilees, as well as the book of Yashar, Jasher, and I'm sure there might be other writings out there that I don't know about, you will find much more detail about this man's life. It's fascinating. I love this man so much. In fact, it's so beautiful that I wish I had time to go into the stories about him today, but I will tell you that if you have the book of Yashar, Jasher, the Halelluyah Scriptures has an excellent version. The details of Chanukka's life are in chapter 3, and he was extremely dedicated to and trained by Yahweh. And of course, we know Chanukka to be the man that Elohim took up to the Shamayim without having gone through physical death. So back to the roots of this word. The concrete understanding that was usually used for this word among the ancient Hebrews is this: to be trained in something new, and more specifically, it was connected with the meaning of an infant being trained to suck by placing a sour substance on the roof of the mouth. Now, we know that it is a natural thing for an infant to pretty much immediately start seeking food with their mouths as soon as they're born, and immediately start sucking when there is something there to suck on. This is prescribed and instilled by Yahweh right from infancy in all of us. In fact, with the technology that we have today, we can even see that a lot of babies will start sucking their thumbs in the womb. So why would training be needed if this is something that comes natural? Well, just as many things are naturally prescribed and instilled in us, sometimes we need a little extra motivation and training. And some may not know it is common for there to be latching problems during breastfeeding. Also, the very first milk that comes in during breastfeeding, which is called colostrum, it's a slower flow than the mature milk that comes a couple of days afterwards. So if the baby is not latched properly and not motivated to suck hard enough, the milk will not come so easily. In fact, I actually had one of these babies who was not motivated, to the point of pretty much just falling asleep almost immediately after latching. So we all need to be trained in different things throughout our lives, even when they are naturally instilled in us, especially when it is something new to us. And I'm sure many of you have already noticed how appropriate this model is of an infant being trained in their approach and dedication of going after and seeking nourishment, getting that milk to come out right. And isn't it interesting that something sour was used? I've been chewing on that cud. Going down to the parent root of this word, chet kaf, the palm and the wall, the concrete meaning of this word is palate, like the palate of your mouth. If you take your palm and you hold it out as if you were receiving something, you would hold it in a curved position, like the curved design of our mouths. Then the chet represents the wall, such as the ridge in the middle of our palate. The action word with this parent root is to stick, like to stick something in your mouth. And the abstract is to tarry, like to delay. So to give more understanding here, the ancient Hebrews also had the understanding that sometimes a speaker's mouth would get dry, and this would cause their tongue to stick to the roof of their mouths, which would cause them to tarry or wait on what it is that they were speaking. I kind of find that interesting. With understanding all of these concrete meanings and then putting the nun in the middle of the word, which gives the idea of being continuous, we have this understanding of dedication being something that we are trained for, being trained or delayed by Yahweh. This brings me to talk about Yahweh's appointed times. These appointed times are typically called Jewish feasts. However, this is not appropriate because, number one, when we hear the word Jewish, it makes us think this is for the Jews only. But Elohim's appointed times are for all of Yahweh's children, besides the fact that Shaul, Paul, told us in Romans that being a Jew is inwardly, it is of the heart. And also the word feast usually causes everyone to only think about food. And even though these appointed times involve food, they really have everything to do with spiritual food, and no one really thinks about that when they hear the word feast. More appropriately, these are Elohim's appointments with mankind. By the way, the original word for appointed times is the word moedim, and man, when I was doing this study, when Abba was preparing me for this, I just felt compelled to look into this meaning of Moedim, even though I wasn't really focusing on the study being on his Moedim, his appointed times, but he compelled me to look into it anyways, and this is just so amazing because if you remember my study back on confirmations on 1 Corinthians 1:8, that word confirm, which is ayin dalet, is also the parent root for moed, moedim, and which means see the door, and it means to repeat and to witness. And it also talks about coming to a tent of meeting and entering in, a place, a time, or event that is repeated again and again. And I just thought that it was so cool that moedim is the same word as confirm. That just blew my mind, so I wanted to mention it here. Now, Hanukkah is not one of these appointed times given by Elohim, but this message is about dedication and not a festival. When he teaches us about each one of his appointed times and their meanings, he is continuously telling us to zakar, remember them, think about them and their meanings, meditate on them. We will come back to a deeper study on this word zakar, but I wanted to mention that these appointed times are cycles set on specific days so that they continue to come up year after year, so that they are not forgotten. They are about training and teaching us about dedication to Yahweh. They are teaching us about Him and how to be prepared for what He has planned for us. And while we're on this subject, I just want to mention not to forget about Shabbat is also an appointed time, an appointment that we have with Yahweh every week, a time of rest that He gave us, that there is to be no burden, so that we can just focus on our dedication to Him. For all of Yahweh's appointed times that He gave us, every single one of them is about teaching us, training us how to be dedicated to Him, why we should be dedicated to Him, as well as how and why He is dedicated to us. He gives us details about how to celebrate the appointed times, not because it's about works or the way that we do it outwardly being important, but instead it's the meanings behind the details. Each detail that He gives us, that He teaches us, has meaning. The details are about training. All of the meanings point to and are centered on Yahweh's living word. And it's not about only remembering this once a year. It's to teach us about every day. This is what the 7-branch menorah represents that you can see here. Typically, a 9-branch Hanukkah is used in celebrating the festival of Hanukkah because there are 8 candles for the 8 days and then an extra candle as the servant candle to light them all. If you know the truth about Yahweh's appointed times, then you know that it is the living word of Yahweh who fulfills each and every one of these appointed times. Being made flesh and His work on the stake, being buried and risen, the Ruach HaKodesh being sent to be our helper as we walk through this world, and also about our homecoming because He has atoned for our sins, and we will be home dwelling with our Elohim. Now, Hanukkah, the festival of dedication, was not given to us by Yahweh as an appointed time, but from what Elohim has brought to my attention during this past Hanukkah season, His people who truly follow Him, those who are dedicated, we hear His voice and we follow Him. We refuse to go the ways of the world, and this is every day, and this is how the festival of Hanukkah was started. If you don't know the story of the first Hanukkah, which is in the beginning of the book of Maccabees, I encourage you to learn about it. Again, Halelluyah Scriptures has a great version of the book of Maccabees. It's a beautiful story of a family, a mishpacha, just like this mishpacha, who truly stood on the word of Yahweh. The temple of Elohim had been defiled, and they had been driven away. It was the Greeks who came in and stole everything in the temple and defiled it in many ways, one of which being by putting up and forcing worship to the statue of Zeus, their Greek false god. There is so much we could talk about here, but all I'm going to bring attention to for now is this. The menorah, the light representing the word of Yahweh, was taken out and replaced with a false deity to worship. The thing is, many of those who claimed Yahweh as their Elohim went along with this. The first reason being that, leading up to this, the Greek culture had such a strong influence, especially in making all of their Greek ways look fun. Elohim's people started to be influenced by fun games and partying, new ways of dressing. The key word here in what was being used as the deception is fun. For time's sake, I'm not going to go into any more details about this beautiful story, except to skip right to the end where, because of their dedication and after much battling the enemy, by the power and miracles of Yahweh, the true people of Elohim claimed back their place of worship. They cleaned out the defilement, all of the corruption from top to bottom, and rededicated their temple, lighting up the menorah again. And, of course, believers understand that the work of Yeshua brought the dwelling in us. We are the temple now. Elohim does not dwell in dwellings made by the hands of man. He dwells in us. We were created by him. And I just want to remind everyone that this story of the first Hanukkah, it was 160 years before Yeshua even walked the earth. I think that's pretty important to mention, just because I'm not sure if anyone else ever had the same confusion growing up as I did. But when I was young, I thought that at this time of year, Christians celebrated Christmas because they believe in Jesus, and Jews celebrate Hanukkah because they don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. Now, I'm just putting this in the way that it was in my mind all my life, and I don't even remember these exact words ever being taught to me this way, but this is just the understanding that I took on for whatever reason. But obviously, this understanding makes no sense at all because Yeshua had not even come in the flesh yet. Those who celebrate Hanukkah without the understanding of the living word, who he is and what he did, they celebrate it in a way of tradition and works only. So this brings me back to what Abba told me when he was preparing me for this study. This celebration of dedication is not a once-a-year thing. It is about every moment of every day of our lives, just like all of his appointed times. They are set up as cycles to cause us to have this continuation of remembering, as a time to talk about the true meanings of these appointments with our family, to our children, and most of all, talking to Elohim about them, asking him to refresh your mind about his true meanings so that they don't become stale. This is what the first Hanukkah was truly about, standing firm on the word of Yahweh Elohim. It was about all of Elohim's appointments in one. The true followers of Elohim were dedicated to his word, his ways. Our family celebrates Hanukkah different every year. We usually read and talk about the story and light the menorah or the Hanukkah. We usually light all the candles at once because it's just so beautiful. Alan has a video about Hanukkah if you want to learn more about it. So now, somewhere around 160 days later, as Yeshua, the living word of Yahweh, was walking among this earth, he gave a message during the festival of Hanukkah. You can read this in John chapter 10. You won't see the word Hanukkah because it's just translated to the festival of dedication. And this is a bit of his message summed up from chapter 10. I lay my life down for the sheep, and I have other sheep from a different fold, a different time period. I have to bring them as well. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one flock, one shepherd. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. That was my favorite part of Caregiver's beautiful skit, by the way, at the end when Yeshua said, I know you intimately, and I love you. If you missed that skit, I highly recommend watching the live stream from the Book of Remembrance study. It was truly precious. I encourage you to read this whole chapter. It's interesting that during this time, he starts talking to the people who claim that they worship Yahweh Elohim, and Yeshua is telling them that they are not of his sheep because they do not believe him. They are not truly in agreement with him. Yeshua only speaks what the Father speaks, and they are not in agreement with it because they have gone astray. They say that they worship Elohim and they might have works, just like many people today who say they worship God and they might have works, but there's no true Aman there, no true faith. If you watch my last video, I did a really deep study on the word for faith, which is Aman. And take a look at verse 16, where he says that there will be one flock, one shepherd. That word one is echad, which means unity. The Christian church today is not in unity with the word of Yahweh, nor are they even in unity with each other. There are so many different teachings and so many different directions among the Christian church. But the key here is one shepherd. In other words, all of those who claim to be following the way of Yeshua should be following him, walking the way that he walked, following his example, his dedication to the Father. He is dedicated to the Father, and he showed that by every action he took and every word that he spoke. He came to esteem the Father and not himself. He exampled for us the understanding of the living word and what it is to have the mindset of Mashiach, because he is the Mashiach. Now we're going to talk about what it is to zakar, remember. He uses this word when he talks about each of his appointed times, including Shabbat, because they are about being taught by and trained by his living word. We just recently watched Alan's study on the book of remembrance, the book of Zikaron. The concrete meaning of this word is a record. To remember something through documentation. Those who are written in the book of remembrance are those who remember. They remember his name, they remember his word, and they remember his ways. They remember because they have answered his calling. He is the one who calls us. He causes the remembrance. Many are called, and few are chosen. Few are chosen because few answer his call and find the narrow path, and few are still who stay on the narrow path. His followers continue to be yoked to him because they love him and they want to be yoked. They are the chosen ones, and these are the ones who are written in the book of remembrance. So the child root, zakar, is the word used when Yahweh is speaking about each of his moedim, appointed times. He tells us to zakar them. To remember is the action definition of this word. It's about remembering in thought, or to continue remembrance by mentioning through speech. The abstract is memorial. It's about our memory. And the concrete is male. The reason that a male is the concrete understanding for this word is because it was the male's job in the family to keep remembrance in the family by passing down the family history through stories as well as the family name. There's truly a lot to chew on there. Let me just share a little bit of what Abba brought to my thoughts. These memories were not passed down through pictures or videos back then. Those things did not exist. I love taking pictures and videos too, but this was an invention of man. Abba's way of passing down memories was by documentation, eventually, and in the very beginning, his way of remembering was simply by memory. And I believe that for those who walk with him, he is the one in charge of what we remember. He brings memories that he chooses. I have examples of this throughout my life, memories that I have that seem strange to me of why I would have them. They're not through pictures or videos or documentation. They're just odd, strange, little memories. And the ones I'm talking about are not typically things that you would remember. And he has used a few of these memories already, several times in my life, to teach me things. I'm sure you all have examples of this yourselves. Now, I have to talk about a couple of different parrot roots that this word comes from because this is so cool. So, Zayin Resh has the meaning to spread, like the spreading of seeds. Zayin is a plowing tool, and resh is a head. This word talks about planting and harvesting the seeds that come out of the heads of the grain. Resh also talks about the thoughts of a man, and this parent root also talks about remembering the seed that was planted. You might want to just rewind all of that and listen to it again about this parent root, Zayin Resh, because the meanings here are so deep and rich. He causes us to remember his seed. Another parent root that this word comes from is Zayin Kaf, which has the concrete meaning of an oil or another substance that is free of impurities, as well as a person without impurities. Who is the only one who has walked this earth who was without impurity? Yeshua was the only pure man who ever walked this earth. This parent root has the action of refine, and the abstract is pure. To zakar Chanukka, to remember, to be dedicated. This is about the remembrance of his seed, the remembrance of his living word, the way it was from the beginning, without impurities. He is the one who causes this remembrance in us. It is him who compels us. He calls us. It is our free will to receive the call or not. Many do not. They just decline. There are also those who barely even hear the call because they are too distracted. And still, of those who do receive the call, many are then led astray, and the line will be cut. Yahweh will cut the line if we are not truly dedicated, only providing lip service and works, having no true aman, no agreement with the true word of Yahweh, and names will be blotted out of the book of remembrance. Yahweh already knows because he has already seen. He has already seen from beginning to end what is still being played out. He knows who is dedicated and who is not. He knows whose hearts are for him, and he knows whose hearts will turn to him before the time comes. Everyone receives a fair trial, and those who are in agreement with his living word have the living word as their defender, covering every sin. Those who are not in agreement, who don't truly know him, they are left to defend themselves, and they will be standing on the other side saying, "But we did all these things in your name," where he will say, "I never knew you intimately, because you were seeking the words of men about me instead of seeking me." And remember, no man is without excuse. In conclusion, I was not planning on doing a study of these two words together. It was Abba Father who brought this study together, and I understand now why this wasn't supposed to be a message for Hanukkah, the traditional festival. This message is about dedication for every day, and how true dedication does not come by our works, and neither does our remembrance of him. Yahweh causes us to zakar, remember, and it is him who compels us to be dedicated to him, and it is him who trains and teaches us, just like an infant might need to be trained in their approach and dedication and getting the milk to come out. Our Father will train us in how we obtain spiritual nourishment. He wants to remind us, Chavarim, to be dedicated to him every moment, and to remember his name, Yahweh, and his word. Keep his name and his word on our hearts and on our minds. He is looking for hearts that are for him. In this mishpacha, in this family, we are remembering the Father's name, Yahweh, and his word, the way that he wrote it, his original record, and we are learning about it from him. It is Yahweh who has provided this planting place where He has been planting His seed in us and causing it to grow. Thank you, Abba Father, for causing us to zakar you and teaching us, training how to be dedicated to you. By the way, I also just thought I should mention that I'm not done showing my face. I'm still planning on being in front of the camera, Abba willing. This is just the way He has caused me to do it the last couple of times. He's just teaching me new things and taking me through different seasons, and I think sometimes it's easier for me to stay on track and talk if I'm not looking at a camera. But I also have some personal messages that I want to get out. I've already had like 5 million personal messages that I wanted to get out. I honestly kind of walk around my house all day long talking to you guys, talking to Yahweh, talking to you guys. It's just like a constant conversation going on in my mind. I just love you guys so much, and I just love fellowshipping with you all. I can't wait till we get to actually be together. So I hope that this study was a beracha, a blessing to all of you, and I love you guys so much. Shalom.
Check out those headlights, they just don't shine like they used to. I remember days long and gone away that still ring true. My daddy used to talk about the book of Revelation, tears of joy be rolling down his face. But I'm still trying to get behind every word he said. Take a good look at what you can't see. There's nothing wrong with your eyes. It's just what you believe, what you can't believe. He said, I'm in you, he said, you're in me, he said, we were made eternally one. Oh yes, and every time you think you can't find me here in what you call the real world, take a good look at what you can't see. There's nothing wrong with your eyes. It's just what you believe, what you can't believe. Like a reoccurring dream that wakes you in the night every time it rains. Yeah, but it isn't what you think it is. No, nothing ever is. You're just acting like a kid, laying in your backyard, thinking it's the whole world, sun, moon, and stars. But take a good look at what you can't see. There's nothing wrong with your eyes. It's just what you believe you can't believe. Take a good look at what you can't see. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Zayden, you're going to come over here right after her.
Don't start a fire. Tell me when to go. It's a great big story. We believe in the resurrection. Ow! She's put her nails in again. We believe. Yeah! Believe.
So that we
Hey,
can
I made
come
up
and
a
be
new
with you.
God song. Yeshua, Yeshua. No, I love you. I love you. That was me.
Okay, so sing it with us.
Yeshua, Yeshua, you are the King. Yeah! My turn. I made up a song too.
Hi, I'm not going to sing.
I made a new song. Okay, guys. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. 'Cause Yeshua is coming to town. Yeshua is coming to town. Yeshua is come into town. And he's riding on a cloud. Yeah! He's not riding on a cloud.
Yeah, he's going to come riding on a cloud.
Wait, is he really? That's
When he comes for the people.